Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'm going to make one of Eli Manning's teammates tell us if the team needs to find Eli's replacement.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why all those Cavs trades still might not be enough to keep LeBron in Cleveland. Speak for yourself. It's a Tuesday, starts right now.
I watched your radio show, and you're already backing up on the Cavs. Blew my mind. All right, hello and welcome. We're joined today by Fox NFL analyst Mark Schlereth and award-winning columnist Mike Wise. Let's start in the NFL, where the Jets have started their push to land soon-to-be free agent quarterback Kirk Cousins, with a report surfacing that the team is willing to pay, quote, whatever it takes to sign the quarterback. We just saw Jimmy Garoppolo get a record-breaking contract in San Francisco, and it's conceivable Cousins could break that record. Cowherd, should the Jets make Cousins the NFL's highest-paid player?
Yeah, because he adds stability to what I would call the feudal five in the NFL. Cleveland, the Jets, Tampa, Chicago, Miami. These are unstable franchises. And generally in the NFL, if you're unstable, there's one issue. You don't have the quarterback position right. So don't worry about what it costs. They have to overpay for him because they're the Jets. They're not Denver. They're not Jacksonville, where he would take a little less to keep stars around him and win. I think in the NFL, Jay Glazer said this, it's a miserable league to be part of if you don't have the quarterback. It's miserable. You drive to the facility every day knowing we're going to lose on Sunday.
You know what's worse?
What?
Overpaying for the wrong quarterback. Making the Brock Osweiler mistake. And again, Kirk Cousins is clearly better than Brock Osweiler.
Yes.
Clearly deserves more money than Osweiler.
Yes.
But the highest paid player in the league, put that pressure on that guy in New York.
When you're hungry and a steak's in front of you, there is no price. You want it, you need it, it's there.
Doesn't mean it's a good decision. I'd be better off with a salad. I like Kirk Cousins to the Jets. I think it's a better situation than perhaps even Denver. But the highest paid player in the league in New York, wearing Joe Namath's old uniform, carrying that burden.
I don't think the long shadow of Joe Namath is quite what the long shadow of John Elway is in Denver. So I would say this. I think we all look at it wrong. You're not making him the highest paid. You're paying the market rate. That's what you're doing because you know what? Aaron Rodgers is going to get up, then Drew Brees is going to be up, and then Matt Ryan is going to be up, and he will be a bargain at some point. Right now, you got to just pay what the market dictates you have to pay. And I will tell you this. I think this is the interesting thing. I think he's going to be forced, regardless of where he might want to play, I think he may be forced to sign with a team like the Jets if, in fact, the Jets are willing to do whatever it takes. And I mean, by that, I mean giving him a completely guaranteed contract. Because there is nothing in the collective bargaining agreement that says you cannot completely guarantee a contract. So if you're the New York Jets and you want to put your money where your mouth is, give him a 5-year completely guaranteed contract. And now you know what you've done? You have set a precedent. Every guy from that point forward, eventually Aaron Rodgers says you got to do it for me. Matt Ryan says you got to do it for me. Then what about Aaron Donald?
Well, look, I've seen Kirk Cousins up close, unfortunately in some ways for the last few years, and being from the district. And I would say this, look, one, the money doesn't mean anything. Jimmy Garoppolo is right now the highest paid player in the NFL annually per year. So my take is, why Kirk Cousins is the exotic candidate from abroad. Why do you always have to? Why can't they move up and get Josh Rosen in the draft or wait for him at 6 if he drops that far? Why can't you develop a guy? Why do you need somebody else's star to validate you? And I don't know, like the Jets paying for a team. Look, Scott McCloughan, who is what many people think is a pretty good general manager, he said to me in confidence a while ago, and I can tell him now because he doesn't want work for him anymore. He said, Kirk Cousins is a nice player. He's not a special player. He goes, I worked for number 3. I worked for number 4. Brett Favre, Russell Wilson. This guy doesn't have that Indiana Jones quality where he escapes and he does something that's really on the fly, intangibles. This guy isn't that guy. He's not a passing camp quarterback, but he's not a special quarterback. I don't know why you overpay for him. I'm with him.
I think sometimes you have to overpay for a pool in Phoenix. I mean, you have to overpay for a coat in Alaska. In the NFL, I mean, seriously, you have to overpay for something.
Here's the other thing about the league, though. And it's a great theory. Hey, let's go get a college quarterback. Let's develop that college quarterback. This is a league where patience is not rewarded.
Yeah.
You are fired. If you don't get it right in 2 years, you're fired. And unfortunately, most of the college quarterbacks that come out, and I had this conversation with Kyle Shanahan, said the only thing you can evaluate coming out of college from the standpoint of all these spread quarterbacks is arm talent. That's it. So how long do we develop a guy? Jimmy Garoppolo got to sit behind Tom Brady for 4 years and be developed.
You're making the Todd Bowles argument. He doesn't have long to wait.
Yeah.
What about Woody Johnson, who owns the team? What's the best decision again? Because that fully guaranteed contract that you're hoping for,
right.
Woody Johnson has to pay that. If I don't go that route, if that's what it takes to get Kirk Cousins, hell no. If you got to make him the highest paid player in the league, hell no. I draft a young quarterback, fixed cost. You know what you got to pay him.
And then you've got 2 years where you're not good. You fire
That's
Todd.
Woody Johnson.
Right.
He's going to own the team regardless.
But Mark, Kyle Shanahan had more to do with Kirk Cousins than anything. If I was Kyle Shanahan, I would have went to Niners management and ownership and said, let's not go with Garoppolo right now. Let's wait for Kirk Cousins. They're not going to franchise him again. Kyle Shanahan didn't do it. I think that says a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly says something. Again, he was franchised at the time. I mean, and Garoppolo
fell into his lap.
I mean, they had asked about Garoppolo. That deal was off the table. And then all of a sudden, the Patriots call him and say, hey, are you interested?
Changed.
Right.
All right.
Are you interested? It was not like the Redskins were going, hey, are you interested in Kirk Cousins right now?
Hi, everybody. Colin Cowherd here. And before the show moves along, I want to tell you about Freshly. It's the easiest and most convenient way to eat healthy, no matter what life throws your way. And it throws some things. Even if you get stuck at work late, you still come home to a delicious dinner cooked by a chef. No more worrying about having to figure out what you have left in the fridge, that's me, and especially no mess to clean up. Freshly chefs source the finest all-natural ingredients. They work with nutritionists to ensure their meals are as healthy as possible. A couple of meals to keep your eye on: the spaghetti squash and meatballs and the turkey shepherd's pie. Restaurant quality and delicious, I've had that. The best part about Freshly is the number of comfort meals, love those, they currently have that are also super healthy. There's no weekly commitment, only get deliveries when you want them. Check out this week's menu. Created by Freshly chefs, get $25 off your first order of 6 chef-cooked dinners, plus free shipping. That's key, free shipping. Go to freshly.com/Fox Sports. Freshly.com/Fox Sports. You'll feel so relieved. You come home, no headache. Use Freshly. $25 off your first order.
Let's change to a guy hoping to play quarterback in the NFL, Lamar Jackson. Former GM Bill Polian says he thinks Jackson's too short and too slight to play quarterback in the NFL, but offered another route for the former Heisman winner to succeed in the pros, saying he should switch to wide receiver for the NFL draft. Whitlock, you watched him play. Does Jackson need to switch to wide receiver to succeed in this league?
I think Bill Polian is he's 98% right. He's not too short to play quarterback. The guy's 6'2", 6'3". He's tall enough, but he is too slight. And these people are trying to compare him to Cam Newton. Stop.
Oh, God, no. Yeah.
Cam Newton weighs 260 pounds. This guy weighs 210 soaking wet. Listen. There have been because some of this has been turned racial. I read a piece today where, oh my God, they're asking Lamar Jackson, it's a racial thing. They did it to Eric Crouch. They did it to Matt Jones. Julian Edelman was a quarterback at Kent State in the Mid-American Conference. He immediately moved to wide receiver in the NFL, even before the draft. That's worked out quite well for him. Terrell Pryor wanted to be a quarterback. That's who this guy compares to, but he's not as thick as Terrell. If Terrell Pryor had started out as a wide receiver, he'd be making a lot more money right now at 27, 28 years old. And so if Lamar Jackson wants a great second contract in the NFL, because that's the landing spot, that's the journey, he should start out as a wide receiver.
More rushes than completions in college football. Just think about that. More rushes than completions. I've always had sort of a rule on college quarterback. If you can't complete 60% in college, there's almost no exceptions. You're not going to make it in the NFL. I understand chasing a dream, but with arguably the best offensive mind in college football outside of Chip Kelly, you'd say Bobby Petrino. I mean, he's really clever. He's made average quarterbacks look great.
Hope, but continue.
Brady Hoke, yes. Lamar's completing 57% of his throws. And I sense with you, when Polian said that, I thought, oh, there's going to be some, this is going to fall into the racial terms. But when you look at him, he is a built like a breadstick runner first. That's not a 12-year quarterback in the NFL.
He's an awesome wide receiver, and they make quite a bit of money in the NFL.
Yeah, I always look at it, there's a couple of different things. It is, you can look at Josh Allen at 55, 56% playing at Wyoming and think, well, his completion percentage isn't very good. And then you can look at the extenuating circumstances. He played at Wyoming, didn't have a lot of talent around him, played in a pro-style system, the same that Carson Wentz played in South Dakota. So it's going to be harder to complete 65% of your passes, given all those circumstances. You play in a more spread Bobby Petrino offense at Louisville, you should be completing 65% of your passes with all the different bubble screens and all the swing passes and all the things that you do in that particular offense. So that would be troubling to me. The other thing that you get into is when you have a little bit of a quirky mechanics or quirky delivery, people in the NFL try to change you. That never seems to go well. The one guy who's got terrible looking mechanics, but nobody ever touched him, was Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I can remember David Carr, who was a sidearm guy. I remember them putting ladders and a stick between it and made him throw it 7-on-7 over the stick. I'm like, that never ends well for anybody. So that would be my big concern for him, is they're going to get you, and then they're going to try to turn you into something you're not, and you're never going to have success in that situation.
Yeah, far be it from me to criticize Bill Polian. I mean, he knows more of football than I'll ever know in my life. I pick his brain when I'm in the green room in Bristol. I don't actually critique it. And I think he's helped build 5 Super Bowl winning teams. Yet, I will say this. He's also the guy that came out and said in 2011, whenever Tim Tebow came out, Tim Tebow should be a running back. Tim Tebow should be a tight end and H-back. And look,
he was right.
He was right. He was right. But who are we? I go back to Colin. We was talking about who are we to say Michael Jordan can't scratch an itch at 35 or 38? Who are we to say Lamar Jackson can't follow his dream, be an NFL quarterback? Yeah. If he's not that guy, then I would convert him. But I would at least try to see if you can be an NFL quarterback.
What Polian is saying is, if you want to maximize your value,
yes,
young man, then the best way to do that, right, is to switch positions, because ultimately you'll back up for a while and then they'll find out, eventually they'll find out, you don't really have the skill set to be a starter in this league, where if you're playing full-time at wide receiver, as you mentioned, that second contract is where you can get paid.
Well, to your point, if Bill Polian would have said this about, anybody else, I think a part of this is race. There is a sense that what you're saying with Lamar is he doesn't have something that quarterbacks need, where you and I are saying, yeah, he's skinny and runs too much and isn't very accurate. Like Polian, that became a story. Why? Bill Polian's built Super Bowl winning teams, says I wouldn't make that quarterback a quarterback. People were like mad. Why?
Yeah. Well, he won the Heisman Trophy, and so the casual fan. The casual fan thought, well, the guy that won the Heisman Trophy, and why wouldn't you put the ball in the hands of the most exciting guy and the most hard to tackle guy? But again, because the NFL and college football are so different.
Totally.
First of all, you're so young when you're playing college football. Your body recovers better from the hits. But once you get to the NFL, and the Ray Lewises of the league and the Luke Kuechly's of the league start tapping you, you just can't survive that at 210 pounds and 6'3". It just doesn't. We saw it with RG3. It just doesn't last long.
It's unsustainable. I've been in Denver the last couple of years and watched Trevor Siemian, who had an injury history in college, and he's a slightly built guy. And they've bent him like a pretzel. I mean, that poor guy just had another shoulder surgery.
Yeah, but pardon me for just 1 minute.
Yeah.
Isn't the run-pass option part of the NFL now? I mean, don't white guys run the run-pass option? The fact that people are preparing him to run.
The difference is they don't actually let their quarterbacks run.
Well,
it's like flag it to the running back or throw it, right?
I'm not saying he's going to be Steve Young. I'm not even saying he's going to be Randall Cunningham. I'm saying give the guy a shot. Well, what's wrong with giving the guy a shot to play quarterback in the NFL?
Somebody will.
Bill Polian's probably, when I worked at ESPN, the one guy I relied on regularly for personnel information.
Besides me. Continue.
Besides you. And my takeaway when he said this yesterday was, well, yeah, that's what my scouting sources are saying. Lamar's not really a guy you could. He's skinny.
I don't even think he's Michael Vick.
Oh, God, no.
Right.
Oh, no.
And
Michael Vick was transformative.
Yeah, but I'm saying Michael Vick, some people could have argued, Michael Vick, you would have been a
You
hell of a
Michael Vick threw
You guys are unbelievable. Why don't you just tell him to play minor league baseball now? I mean, that's what this is coming to.
Maybe he should. This is the Speak for Yourself podcast, and I'm Jason Whitlock. Before the show moves along, I wanted to tell you today's show is brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. It's that time again, that familiar crossroads of choosing between basketball and hockey. You can't choose, they're both on. Why are they both on? Relax, we have a solution. Buffalo Wild Wings. Rather than fill your living room with TVs, come in to B-dubs, we've got hockey and basketball on, each playing on dozens of screens so that you don't have to choose. And to complete the trifecta, we can ensure you have access to all the sports, foods you crave. From our selection of America's favorite wings and any of our 21 signature sauces and seasonings to shareable favorites like cheddar cheese curds and fried pickles, you'll have everything you've ever wanted. But wait, we also have a variety of beers to quench your thirst. All the basketball, all the hockey, all the food, and the beer you want. Buffalo Wild Wings, wings, beer, sports. Please drink responsibly. Now back to the show.
Welcome back. Mike Wise is back, and we're joined now by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Let's move to the association where Mark Cuban, owner of the Mavs, made an appearance on Dr. J's podcast. Yeah, that's a thing, and made a surprisingly candid admission about the Mavericks and their recent run as one of the worst teams in the NBA.
Probably not supposed to say this, but like I just had dinner with a bunch of our guys the other night. We weren't competing for the playoffs. I was like, look, losing is our best option. Adam would hate hearing that. But at least I sat down and I explained it to him. And I explained what our plans were going to be this summer, that we're not going to tank again. This is like a year and a half of tanking, and that was too brutal for me.
Yeah.
But being transparent, I think that's the key to being a quote-unquote player's owner and having stability.
All right, Whitlock, a mistake for Cuban to admit they tanked?
Being transparent with your players, I get. Hat tip, great. Why does he got to be transparent with Dr. J's podcast? How is this a good look for the league? He is the highest profile owner, other than Michael Jordan, in the NBA. He's clearly the most vocal. If I'm Adam Silver, I'm irate today. If I'm the other NBA owners, I'm irate. Why do you got to run your mouth about everything? You have no secrets. Nothing stays in private. Mark Cuban loves attention. He's got some more coming now. But no, this is not a good look for the NBA. And if I were Adam Silver and his ownership partners around the league, I'd be upset with Mark Cuban.
I think just the tanking itself is a mistake. Look in the region he's at. Houston's good. OKC's interesting, good. San Antonio's good. Dallas is a mess. Like, if you were thinking about going to that region to play, Dallas would be your fourth choice. I think he's made the mistake of thinking tanking works. Phoenix is no better. Lakers are still praying to get LeBron. Philadelphia, the process. By the way, Houston never tanked, San Antonio never tanked, Toronto never tanked, Boston never tanked, LeBron never tanks. The fact that he thinks tanking works makes me think he's great on Shark Tank, and he's great with the internet. I'm not sure he knows basketball, because I think tanking's done.
Well, first of all, I do agree with you, Jason. I mean, look, if he was trying to trade Dirk Nowitzki or Dennis Smith Jr. at the deadline, you don't come out and say that. Like, everything is not for public consumption. Secondly, I don't know if he told his players or if he told staff, like his front office. If he told the players, you should never do that. If you want to tank, you tell the coaches, look, play the young guys, and you just won't be good enough to win. But you never set that losing cultural tone in your franchise. Thirdly, this is revisionist history. He ain't trying to tank. It's been bad management. A year and a half ago, 2016, they gave Harrison Barnes 4 years, $94 million.
Okay.
A couple months ago, they offered Nerlens Noel, 4 years, $70 million. Those aren't the moves of a team that's tanking. This is revisionist history. You're a bad team.
I get all that, and I absolutely love this. And you know why? Because I'm being contrary. No, the main reason is I think Mark Cuban is telling fans what they already know and what all the other owners know. If anything, is the dirty little secret in this league is sometimes you have to be really bad before you're good. I look at the Wizards. It took them years to build around John Wall. Now they've got a team. Trust the process. Here in Los Angeles, the Lakers, after Kobe, they won, 20 games, 19 games? I mean, this is the NBA now. If people are honest with their fan bases, if owners want to be honest, they'll do what Ted Leonsis did in Washington and say, we're going to be bad for a while before we're good, and this is just how it is.
But, if you look, we have a graph. Superstars don't want to play with scrubs, okay? The Mavericks have 10 undrafted players. That is not an appealing roster to elite players. Forget low draft picks, marginal guys. That's 10 undrafted players. I think Dallas has an issue. It is now seen as a losing franchise, right in the same neighborhood as Houston and San Antonio, an exciting OKC.
They've never been able to get a big-time free agent.
They can't. I think players look at them now.
But again, isn't Mark Cuban betting on we're going to be bad, we're going to have our pick and maybe try to flip and get someone else's pick and get lucky in the draft or develop your own players the way Golden State did and get good that way, the way Philadelphia.
Here's the thing. Golden State didn't tank. I mean, Draymond Green was a second-round pick. Was Klay Thompson's 11. A lower lottery pick? Yeah. Steph Curry was a 7th pick. Yeah. So they were just smart. And that's all. Look, tanking is not the way to go. I think the Phoenix has been bad.
The Spurs would argue with you back in the day.
They did tank back then. Okay. Well, what happened was
that's how they got Tim Duncan.
Was hurt.
Okay, but
David Robinson was hurt, and then they left him out.
Tanking worked 25 years ago when you got a grown man like Patrick Ewing. You're getting 19-year-old kids now.
But I think what Jason was saying earlier, Philadelphia is proving that tanking is working now.
That's one team.
The Washington Wizards. The
Wizards are mediocre. I know you picked them to win the East, but they're mediocre. Come on.
By the way,
why did you have to tell people on the air that I picked them to win the East?
Okay, we got to stop with it's working in Philadelphia. In the West, they would be the 11th best team.
But hold on, they have two potential, and I'm gonna say it. Potential all-time greats.
The only way I have
Ben Simmons
and Joel Embiid.
You could be right.
Stay healthy,
but the only point I will concede on this whole thing is that I can't see doing this to Dirk Nowitzki in his last days. Like I know Kobe was used to it because he knew the show was all about him.
And he was getting
$40 million. And Dirk Nowitzki has taken less money over the years to remain with the Mavericks. The least he could have got was a playoff team at the end of his career.
All right, welcome back. Chris Broussard and Mike Wise are back. Let's move to LeBron James, who is fresh off an exciting weekend here in Los Angeles and helped stoke the already intense speculation he'll end up with the Lakers next year, offering some very high praise for the City of Angels after the game.
I think LA is a perfect place to host All-Star Weekend. It's one of the few cities that we have in our league that can accommodate all of this. It's built for stars. It's built for entertainment. It's built for cameras and bright lights. And, it's a great place for it. But obviously winning championships is what it's all about. That's what this league is all about. Hopefully, at the end of the road, then, I have the Cavs there to actually compete for one, to be in the finals representing the East. So that's my goal.
All right, Cowherd, do you hear those words? And what do you hear? A guy that's angling to come back to Los Angeles?
I do. I do. I think he's just opening up doors, and he may walk through them. Listen, this idea that suddenly, because of Larry Nance Jr. and Jordan Clarkson and George Hill, he is so satisfied in Cleveland.
Rodney Hood.
Rodney Hood is Utah's 3rd best player. Jordan Clarkson's the Lakers' 5th. And because of that, LeBron, hey, I'm going nowhere. These C-plus guys, this is how I'm going to end my career, playing with George Hill. Really? The greatest player maybe ever is happy playing with spare tires. They had a flat. These guys are spares. They're not snow
What's
tires.
Brandon Ingram?
Huh?
What's Brandon Ingram?
Potentially an A.
What's Lonzo Ball? These are the best Firestone tires in the world.
You know what Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball are? Significantly better than Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr.
No. What Rodney Hood, George Hill, Jordan, they're grown, they're coming into their prime, they're in their prime or coming into their prime. They're the right pieces around LeBron. I hear that, and I hear a guy that has LA figured completely out. It is a great place for a circus. But then he transitioned to, but, you know, championships, I'm not sure if the Lakers are ready for that. And this group I have here in Cleveland, I think LeBron thinks he can win with this year. And if he can win with them this year, next year after they add an additional piece or two, hell yeah, they can win. So I don't hear anything about Los Angeles. I hear a guy focused on winning this year.
And here's the thing, too. If it were in Charlotte, as it is next year, do you think he would have ripped the city? He would have said, he would have praised Charlotte, too. Hey, this was great for the All-Star game, great setting and all that. It all depends on what's LeBron's motivation. If he wants to continue to win championships, there are a number of places you could go besides the Lakers. Houston, San Antonio, even though I don't think he'd go there. Philadelphia, or just stay in Cleveland. The Lakers would be lower on the list. If he ends up coming to LA, I think he's had his mind made up and he just wants to be in Los Angeles. But I think he'd be selling himself short. He's got probably 3 or 4 years left as a top 5 player in the NBA. He comes to the Lakers, he'd essentially be saying, I'm not really trying to win anymore. And if he wants his legacy to be chasing Michael Jordan or reaching Michael Jordan, you should still be trying to win titles. And I say there's other places to go rather than the Lakers.
I spoke to someone very close to LeBron 3 days ago. It wasn't Samantha, don't worry. It was
Savannah.
Savannah. See, I don't even know his wife's name. And this person told me flat out, LeBron James is interested in scaling the Golden State Warriors, and that means winning a title. And if he can win 1 or 2 more titles before it's over, people will say he's the greatest player of all time. It won't be a question anymore. And so I think that, to Colin's point, if the Lakers freed up that much cap space and they got Paul George there and they got, name a decent free agent below Paul George's ilk, that's a team that could possibly scale the Warriors. Other than that, he's not going to take the minimum anywhere. He's going to maximize his value. I think Cleveland makes more sense than anything right now.
Do you remember Patrick Ewing as a Sonic or Dominique Wilkins as an Orlando Magic? No. We forgive your final chapter. LeBron's legacy is set. There's no downside to going to the Lakers.
But they would be done. See,
He just compared LeBron James to Patrick Ewing and Dominique Wilkins.
They were done by then.
Okay, but Michael Jordan went to the Wizards.
He was done by then. He was 38 years old, 39.
If he goes to LA, and let's say, well, he'd make him a playoff team, and if Paul George joins him, they're going to be viable. But we're not going to go. He's not going to drop from the second best player to the 13th.
He could. Not 13th, but he could drop from second.
I don't think you could go to any other Western Conference team other than the Warriors and the Rockets that you could say, definitely, we're going to scale the Golden State Warriors. And I think for all I've heard, I believe he's going to stay in the Eastern Conference. And right now, I think Cleveland is the odds-on bet. If they go down 4-0 to the Warriors in the championship, then that's one thing. But if it's a 6-game, 7-game series,
exactly. I'm just trying. What could be better? He's already beaten the 73-9 Warriors.
Right.
If he takes out the Durant, the Big Four Warriors, he can
with role players.
Right. He can drop the mic again.
But that's not going to happen.
Here's the one thing about LeBron. When we talk about LeBron and Jordan, the one thing LeBron definitely has over Jordan is that he could take any group of players and make them essentially a contender.
Yeah.
I mean, Jordan, when Jordan retired from the Bulls, they went from 57 wins to 55. When LeBron leaves, you go from 60 to like 20.
the franchise is dead.
Yeah, and so if he could beat this Big Four, to your point, with Larry Nance Jr. and the guys you mentioned in Cleveland, that would be an argument where you could say he's better than Jordan. He did it once, but if he could do it again, it'd be huge.
What happened to you over the weekend? And I'm not even trying to be funny in terms of, I'm telling you, I like this team around LeBron. You don't like it.
No, it's not that I don't like it.
He wants him in L.A.
But no, it's not that I don't like it. It would be great at 12 minutes from my house. It's not that I don't like it. But these are LeBron James picked the All-Stars. He loved it. He was totally engaged. LeBron, when he can pick stars, Olympics, he likes it. There's no way that Larry Nance Jr. and Jordan Clarkson are making him satisfied. He's just happy today.
In one-off, short-term situations, playing with a bunch of All-Stars is great. Over an 82-game marathon, in the marathon of the playoffs, LeBron likes to be the guy. Unquestioned. That's what satisfies him over the long haul. Occasionally flying out to Vegas and finding something new and exciting for a brief weekend is great. But over the long haul, this is what he needs, role players in their prime around him.
I also think LeBron, when he went to Miami, he sold himself short. I think he was good enough to take a cast of role players to a championship. He wasn't mentally ready yet, but now he's won, he's older, he should be ready. I think he's good enough.
Welcome back, Mark Schlereth here. We're joined now by Giants All-Pro Damon Snacks Harrison.
You know, that's my nickname too, Snacks. LeVar Ball gave it to me.
Let's move to Nick Foles, whose stock is at an all-time high. Former GM Bill Polian says the Eagles should demand 2 first-round and 2 second-round picks for their backup, while another NFL GM said it's actually a no-brainer for the team to keep him. Either way, Foles could get a starting job somewhere else, and he just delivered Philly a first Super Bowl ever. Whitlock, should the Eagles let him decide his own future?
Absolutely. And I know this makes no business sense, but I think it's the right thing to do. The guy just won the city its first championship, just delivered the Eagles a Super Bowl championship. I don't think if Nick Foles comes in and says, I want to be a starting quarterback somewhere, I think they owe it to him to make that happen. They should obviously do this behind the scenes. You don't want to diminish its trade value. But if I'm Nick Foles, I don't report to camp anywhere that I'm not the starter and being paid starters' money. I'm not, again, that Super Bowl changed everything. If I'm Nick Foles, I think they owe it to him to make that happen.
I would say Philadelphia resurrected his career. He's not winning without Fletcher Cox. He's not winning without Alshon Jeffrey. He's not winning without that coaching staff. He's not winning without that offensive line. I don't think they owe him anything. I mean, this isn't the NBA where marginal players hold a team hostage. This is the NFL where about 4 guys have leverage in the whole league and they're all quarterbacks. I mean, the Eagles resurrected Nick Foles.
There will be dozens of free agents from last year's free agent class that signed 5-year contracts to get cut this year. There is no altruism when it comes to playing the National Football League. You've got a guy under contract. He won a Super Bowl. You need that guy because you don't know how Carson Wentz is going to come back from that injury. Now you want to, I mean, they don't owe him anything. He's under contract right now. He did an unbelievable job, but the bottom line is I'm with Bill Polian. Hold everybody hostage in a quarterback-deprived league. If you want our quarterback or backup, you're going to have to give us so much for that guy because he has great value to us right now because he proved that he had great value. This is a guy, lest we forget, that was walking away from football and his career was resurrected. Right.
Was is the key word.
He's got 1 year. He's on a 1-year deal right now.
I don't show up and play for $5 or $6 million. I don't show up.
Wow.
You wouldn't show up.
No. Not after I just won a Super Bowl.
You got all kinds of money. You don't need it.
I think if you want to play the loyalty card like that gets thrown at the players all the time, then Philly owes it to him in some form to either be the backup, allow himself to say I'm comfortable in my position, or to seek somewhere else to go. But 2 first-rounders, no.
Would you, if you were in a locker room with Nick Foles, what would you think would be the right thing to do? If you had a locker right next to Nick Foles and you were talking, what would you tell him?
He has to do what's best for him and his family. And if that's staying in Philadelphia, fine. But that window, that small window that he once jumped through before is going to close again. So either you strike now or, you bet on yourself now or risk losing it all.
Let me just say this real quick. On the first 2 rounders, I know it was two first-rounders and 2 second-rounders. Just remember, 2 years ago, broken down Sam Bradford demanded a first and a 4th rounder. So it might not be as crazy as you think to sit there and say 2 first-rounders.
I wouldn't give up all of that, but I want to ask Snacks serious. Honestly, if it were you and you had just won a Super Bowl, would you come back and play for $5 million?
No, sir. I got to go somewhere where I can be the starter and
make starter money.
Yes, sir.
And you've delivered Philadelphia a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
You've been the greatest backup quarterback in the franchise's history.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Are you willing to sit? Because
yes.
You can sit, you can sit and forego the $5 to $7 million you're going to make as the backup and say, I'm not going to make anything this year. I'm going to sit for...
Mark, the Eagles will fold. They will move him and trade him. Their fan base would eventually demand it. They would be on Nick Foles' side. Anybody can understand. Nick Foles has one last shot to get a huge contract pretty much. He's in his 30s, I think, or close to.
29.
Yeah, this is his time right now to strike. Brock Osweiler got $18 million and didn't do a damn thing to really earn it in comparison. If I'm Nick Foles, you can't get me to training camp unless I'm the starter somewhere with a starter contract. Now, if Philadelphia wants to make me the starter and pay me like a starter, I'm good. But if they don't, I'm not showing up.
Maybe I'm just a more loyal employee than
Elsewhere in the NFC East, Peter King is reporting that the Giants are likely to pass on drafting a quarterback with the number 2 overall pick, despite the fact that Eli Manning just turned 37 and is coming off one of the worst years of his career. Cowherd, this draft is stacked with highly touted quarterback prospects. Should the Giants use the number 2 overall pick on Eli's replacement?
Yes, even if you weren't going to start him for a year. When's the last time the Giants had a number 2 pick? That's how they got Lawrence Taylor. The Giants don't end up with a number 2 pick because they're good. That's their history. That's always about 17th, 21st. You're not going to get in the, like we always talk about, Russell Wilson ended up in the 3rd round and Dak was in the 4th. 90% of Hall of Fame quarterbacks went in the first 20 picks. The Giants don't get up there very often. You got to take advantage of a heavy quarterback draft, and you're in a unique quarterback spot. You just tell Eli, here's a contract. You can stay for a couple years. This is the most important position in football.
I think we have to remember what time of year it is. It's before the draft, and everybody starts throwing out smoke screens and fake moves and blah, blah. And so to me, I read this story by Peter King and his inference or suggestion or information that says they're not going to take a quarterback. I see that as the first smoke signal of we're willing to trade this pick. Who wants a quarterback? The number 2 pick can be had if you want to go get a quarterback. That's what I think this is about. But if I'm the Giants, I hold on to the pick and take a quarterback. I think Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, one of these guys.
I think it depends on how you feel about these quarterbacks. I mean, do you feel like there's a guy that's going to transform it can be a guy that can transform your organization and a guy that can be an elite quarterback for the next 10, 12 years? Do you think that guy is in this draft? Because if you don't, you look at the Giants, and no offense to the Giants, but you look at them from an offensive standpoint, man, there are a lot of holes to fill. You're going to get your receiver back. Your tight end is a guy, to me, that looks like he could be a next-level guy. Your offensive line, called their 16th game of the season, your offensive line looked like a 4th preseason game of guys that needed to be looking for work elsewhere. They are not very good. You don't have a legit, in my mind, big-time difference maker at the running back position. They have got a lot of holes that they have to fill. Their defensive line is outstanding. Their secondary is outstanding. They've got some issues at the linebacker position. But when you look at the Giants, there are a lot of holes to fill. And it's not just at the quarterback position. There's a lot of things that have to go on there this offseason.
Yeah, it's kind of like you said, if you don't have one of those guys that you guarantee or that you think you can guarantee that can change the franchise and take over for Eli Manning, then you go directly to your next thing. And I think I've seen a couple of good guys in this draft. The offensive lineman from, was it Notre Dame?
Notre Dame.
Oh, that guy's mean. That guy's mean.
Nasty.
And I wouldn't want to be on
That's
the other
Quentin
side
Nelson.
of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you do have issues, here's the other thing to think about. Carson Wentz is now in the Giants division. You got to face him 10 times minimum over the next 5 years. Dak Prescott's pretty good. Washington now has a very cagey veteran, Alex Smith. Eli's old. This may be your last chance to get a transformative talent. This could be it. You're going to be, you have to, when you wake up in the morning, okay, we got, guys, Carson Wentz, twice a year, minimum for a decade. That's 20 times against Carson Wentz. When are you going to have a number 2 pick?
Well, again, you can get a quarterback at the top of the 2nd round, into the 1st round. If you trade that pick and move down, and you maybe get other pieces, or you can go out and sign a Nick Foles.
Oh, come on now.
I'm being serious. Snacks, are you surprised to hear that the Giants aren't interested, seemingly, in taking a quarterback at the number 2 pick?
No, not at all. Because like you said, we have a lot of holes in other positions. And if they believe Eli, which I believe can play for another 3 to 4 years at a high level, then you choose to go somewhere else with it, whether that be trade the pick and move down or take another
Seth, where were you
position.
drafted? What round?
The 9th round.
The 9th round.
The 9th round.
Yeah, so you're a free agent.
Yes, sir.
I was a 10th rounder. And the point being is, once you get in the league, players don't give a rip where you're drafted. Guys have seen so many first-rounders that have gotten drafted and come through that can't play a lick, and they've seen a lot of dudes that are free agents that are Pro Bowlers. And that's just the way it goes. So what I want as a player is I want good players, and I don't care where they were drafted. I just want guys that can play.
Snacks, I don't want to put you in a horrible position, but I do want to bear down a little bit on those of us in the media. We believe Eli's play is declining. What do you? Is it external things we don't see? You don't see Eli at 37 being really at the back end of his career. You believe he's got 2 or 3 more years left?
I do, and I'm not just trying to say the politically correct thing, that he's my teammate. I watch him every day. And a lot of the times, the reason for those declining numbers, it isn't all just on Eli. You know, some guys are not catching the ball, some are just not doing their job altogether. Maybe it was bad play calling. It was a combination of everything, and also Eli's age, but now you give them some guys that can be where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there, and Eli's pretty good.
You know, well, to your point, you could trade that pick. There's no question somebody would move up for Rosen or Darnold.
Yeah.
That would be interesting because you may be able to get so many surplus picks that you could get a first-round quarterback at 16th and not 2.
All right, welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to the Lakers, who haven't exactly been short on turmoil this year, thanks in large part to LeVar Ball, who just threatened to move Lonzo to another team if LA didn't also sign his 2 brothers, which prompted a surprising reaction from Magic Johnson.
I got to ask you, are you taking LeVar's threats seriously at all?
LeVar is a good guy. He's trying to, be a good father for his son, I don't even look at it like that. I don't take it like that, right?
Do you see any talent in the younger Ball brothers?
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right, Cowherd, are you surprised Magic Johnson drives himself around L.A.?
Actually, this is my theory on the Lakers, that they should just let all LeVar's comments kind of roll off the back. I don't like when LeVar makes demands on my sons or Lonzo leaves. I think that's dangerous territory. But he is a dad, and Luke Walton can't be concerned about what a dad says.
Yeah, Magic's reaction to me is perfect. You just don't want to give energy at all to LeVar's negative energy. And so you just kill him with kindness, say nice things about him. It went ass. That's the only strategy I think that has any chance of success in terms of controlling LeVar Ball or just minimizing his impact. Magic did a good job there. All right, to college basketball, where the NCAA announced today that it was vacating Louisville's 2013 national championship, along with about 120 other wins, as punishment for the school's escort scandal. Cowherd, did the NCAA get this right?
Absolutely. Come on, this is a dirty program. You say Louisville basketball under Pitino.
I listened to you this morning.
It's a dirty program.
It's ridiculous.
You think it's a clean program?
No, I think the NCAA and amateurism is a dirty system.
Well, yeah.
And so you put something into a dirty system, don't be surprised when dirty things come out.
Well, you know what? Gonzaga's not dirty, and they're in the system.
Listen, Colin.
Villanova's not dirty.
It's a naive thought, in my opinion. That view, again, I know too many coaches that are good people that eventually end up in shady things because the system is corrupt.
We'll see you tomorrow.